welcome everybody to UORadio TalkShow, episode 49, right here on Saturday, January 13, 2007. And I want to thank you for all tuning in for this talk show this afternoon. We're going to turn down that music in the background a little bit. And so I wanted to go ahead and introduce everybody here with me today, and you'll have to pardon me if I'm a little rusty or whatever. It's been about a month since I've last done a talk show. And, I'm also in a setting where I got a lot of people around me, so it's going to be kind of hard to keep my focus and think about what I'm talking about. All right, so let me go ahead and introduce everybody here with me today. It's going to be Arjuna from Lake Superior, and we also have, I think it's Lord Chaos from Europa. So let me go ahead and give them a chance to say hello to y'all. And with that said, go ahead, Arjuna, say hello to everybody out there.
Hi, Viceroy. Yes, this is Arjuna from Lake Superior, and I guess I look forward to talking to you again today on this talk show with you and Lord Chaos also.
Yeah, definitely glad to have you, and it's been a while, and I want to wish everybody a happy New Year, 2007. Yeah, and I hope you all had a great one as well. I know I did. For some odd reason, I get a feeling that 2007 is going to be a great year. I don't know if a lot of people here get the same feeling like I do about 2007. It's going to be one of those great years, I think. So, you can probably look at the towards the end of the year, come back to this episode and say, hey, yeah, it really was a good year, or hey, this year really sucked, or whatever else. But go ahead, Lord Chaos, say hello to everybody out there.
Hello everybody, this is Lord Chaos. I'm from the Europa shard, and well, I think 2007 is going to be a great year for UO. Well, it might be deal or no deal really for the game since UOKR is coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting nonetheless to see what happens. And so we're going to be keeping an eye on this year for more details about UOKR. It's a shame that we're not going to probably be able to broadcast this town hall meeting come January, because I think they're going to be telling some. I believe that's where they said they're going to debut. I think it's UOKR over in January 27th, 2007, which is on a Saturday, and it's in Atlanta, Georgia, at 3 p.m. Eastern to 6 p.m. Eastern. And I think that's what they're going to be talking about. Let's get some music going, all right? All right, so let's go ahead and get talking about the town hall meeting that's coming up and everything, and see if you guys are going to be going there, or if you guys are going to be looking for details on Saturday, or what. What are your thoughts about the town hall? And are you guys excited about it coming up, or what? Go ahead, Arjuna.
I guess in 9 years I've never been to a town hall meeting. It's just, I guess, some of us working stiffs never get to take vacation in real life, so we can't go down there. But I think one of the things that I like best about the town hall meetings is it's a chance for the people who make our game to show it off and be excited.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that like this is going to be a deal or no deal year for Ultima Online. I also kind of see it as a chance for Ultima Online to remind EA how good a game it is. I mean, the fans of it like us already know that, and I think any opportunity to remind the big parent company that too is definitely welcome.
Right, and I'm going to discuss that a little bit here in a little bit as to where UORadio kind of stands in terms of, these town hall meetings and stuff, and what we try to provide for those like you who cannot, get the time off or able to attend these meetings or whatever else. Lord Chaos, go ahead.
Well, I totally agree with Arjuna on that. I've seen many pictures from town hall meetings. I haven't been there myself. It's a little bit of a long trip all the way across the Atlantic, so but at least I've seen pictures, and it seems like the devs have a good time kind of showing off and kind of in person present ideas and engage the player base. It's not always they get an accurate picture of how the player base is from such a limited crowd, but at least they get some, which is good. And it also gives a good opportunity for various fan sites to to get in and engage the GMs. So I'm happy that they keep doing this, but it is going to be, I think, even on what you mentioned about UOKR this year and EA, it is going to be well, do or die in that situation too, because if UO starts breaking, it'll show EA once and for all maybe that this may not be the time to invest a lot in UO after all. So it's going to be dangerous. It's going to be a gamble, but we'll have to see how it pays off. I think UO has put all its money on zero or something and hoping it comes out.
Yeah.
Or maybe all its money on black.
yeah, that's a really risky gamble whenever you play roulette, for all you guys out there who are kind of wondering, like, what is he talking about? Yeah. But yeah, Lord Chaos, I got a question for you. Whenever you went, you talked about flying across the Atlantic, and so that's not pretty much a feasible option or whatever. However, did you by any chance, being that you are in Denmark and everything, did you by any chance go over to the London Town Hall meeting last year for UOML, and or should I say the Berlin Town Hall meeting, which is what's over in Europe? Did you attend either one of those two? And should they do it again, would you be willing to go to one of those two? Go ahead, Lord Chaos.
Well, I definitely would be willing to go to one or two. Last time, yeah, I forgot about that in my head just for a moment because I couldn't go to either one of them. Sadly, they were at a time where I couldn't go. So, incidentally, funny enough, I was in the U.S. at the time where one, I can't remember which one of them it was. It was 2 years ago or something. I can't remember now. It's a while ago, but I was in the U.S., I remember, and it was like, oh my God, reverse situation again. But yeah, I would like to go again, and I hope they will have more UO town hall meetings in Europe. I heard some rumors that they might even have some in Asia as well because of the budding market there, which might be good too. I'm not opposed to that, as long as it doesn't cut into the town hall meetings in North America and Europe. It'll be great.
Well, they did for UOML, they did have a presence over in Asia. They actually send the developers over to Tokyo, Japan for a UO Town Hall meeting for UOML. So I would imagine they'll do the same thing for UOKR, being that more than half the player base is made up of Japanese players. You're talking about 50% or more players of Ultima Online are Japanese. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see developers going over there and representing UOKR. But you know what? Speaking of that, I think it would be quite cool if they were to maybe send Chacroni over there to Japan, because if I'm not mistaken, he can speak and understand Japanese. I'm not sure about speaking, but I think he can definitely read and write it. So maybe he can do a PowerPoint presentation if he can't speak it. But yeah, I just had to do that for my good buddy over there. Well, apparently he can speak, okay, so I don't know. But anyways, speaking more than reading and writing, okay. But yeah, I think they definitely ought to send someone like him, especially to represent any future products or whatever. But moving on to talk more about town hall meetings and stuff like that. What I'm kind of hoping for with now that EA Mythic's taken over, it's like a whole new team of coordinators that you have to get in touch with and everything. And I don't know how other fan sites have been faring in terms of getting a hold of the community coordinators, but it's been one hell of a time for at least UORadio to try and get any correspondence with those folks. So I'm like, here they are, community coordinators and community director or whatever you want to call them, and it's just like trying to pull teeth to even get any sort of acknowledgement. It's by email, by phone, or whatever else. It's like you can't get any responses to your emails, and it's not anything about UOKR or anything. It's not like anything that's top secret. It's just like, for example, let me give you an example. We just want to find out more details about the January Town Hall meeting, so that way we can maybe get people out there and actually broadcast the January UO Town Hall meeting for all the folks out there across the country who cannot go to the event. And apparently it's to a point now, because every day that goes by, it's like our airfares just go up tremendously, because if you're trying to fly someone out from the West Coast to the East Coast, it's like $400 whenever they first announced it back on December 22nd. And for every day that goes by, the airfares just go up dramatically, and it's like, now we're looking at like $600 or $800 for someone to go from the west or to the east, and it's just no longer feasible now. And I wish we had better correspondence with our developers, or should I say, in this case, the community coordinators, which rightfully should be doing that kind of stuff. But go ahead, Lorcas, let's hear from you.
Well, I must say that hearing what happened here and some of the other things I've been hearing, it doesn't sound like they really got their act together yet, totally, after the merge. I'm not saying that's totally their fault. It is a big thing to move everything together, and Jeremy will have to get used to how UO runs things and how the UO community is and what kind of fan sites are there, and they may get wrong input and so on and so forth. Definitely other fan sites handles it better, except for Dark and Light. I've heard Dark and Light is horrible. It's like you would get a correspondent like 6 months later or something, if you're lucky. But generally, other companies would be a lot better to do correspondence. So I don't know what's going on there. It might just be a glitch because they moved together, but it's really sad that it's going to affect a move that you guys are doing to try and broadcast the UO Town Hall meeting. That's really sad that it's going to ruin that if you guys can't go.
Yeah, definitely, because we was actually all geared up for that and really hyped up, and now it's like we don't even, and I mean we're like let's see, how many days is it? 14 days away, like 2 weeks, and we just don't have any details. And it's like, we've already contacted Dave and Buster's, which is where they're having it at and everything, Atlanta, Georgia, and they're like, well, we got cable for you to hook into and everything. We just don't know if EA's aware of it. So in other words, I got to get approval from EA and everything, and it's just a bunch of bureaucracy that you have to go through, and then you can't get a hold of nobody because I guess it kind of makes sense in a way, because from what I understand, they're actually moving all their MMO operations from Redwood City over to Fairfax, Virginia. So they're moving pretty much all their MMO operations from the West Coast over to the East Coast, and I guess that can be kind of chaotic in terms of, and plus you got the merger involved, and you got to deal with all that kind of stuff, and then you're like, just scrambling through all that stuff, and then you got UOKR rolling out on top of that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it probably is chaotic, but, it shouldn't be chaotic to the point where they can't even take, 2 or 3 minutes to say, hey, yeah, we're going to be doing this, and yeah, we like it, come on ahead, or something like that, or just some kind of confirmation or whatever, just give us a thumb up and say, yeah, it's okay, rather than us taking a gamble and saying, flying down there and finding out, hey, it's not okay. So, anyways, Arjuna, go ahead.
Hey, now that you bring it up, it could simply be lack of administrative practice, because you said that they announced it on December 22nd, and that's about when also half the team said, I'm going on vacation for a couple of weeks, and when I believe some of the people in charge of community relations said, I'm turning off my private messages for a couple of weeks, and it sounds like what happened is they made the mistake of planning a really big event where all the preparations that lead up to it and all the interfaces with the fan base were actually turned off for the majority of the period between when they announced it and when it's time to actually make it happen. So it sounds like just a terrible administrative error that hopefully next year they can remember that, hey, don't plan something right before everybody's going on vacation for 2 or 3 weeks.
But anyways, yeah, so that's yeah, it's kind of crazy at the moment and everything, and it's like, you know, what's going on, you know, it's like these are the people that you're supposed to be getting in contact with, and it's like Sonia, for example, she's like, even on the 5 on Friday, or should I say the fan site thing, yeah, 5 on Friday, or I don't know who wrote the 5 on Friday, but whoever did, they's like, well, you need to email this person, and so you email this person, and it's like, okay, I've emailed this person, no response, what next, you know, and so you try calling Redwood, and then you could try calling Fairfax, you don't get any return call from either one of them, and so it's like, okay, who did I get a hold of next? And I mean, when you've exhausted all your options, it's just one of those situations where there's just nothing you can do except wait. And then, you know, what they, I don't know what they think. I don't even know if they're even aware, but time is of the essence, especially if you're going to be flying, because every day that goes by is like more and more money. And when you're a fan site and you don't got a lot of money, it's kind of hard to do something like that at the last minute. And we're just actually hoping for a better round of things this time around. But yeah, it's kind of interesting, and I'm kind of wondering, you know, why do they feel like the need to turn off their PMs before leaving? You know, before leaving for vacation. I mean, what was the point behind that? I mean, you could have just left it on and then left it on, and you know, just walk away and then come back to a bunch of PMs whenever you got back. You know, and that way, you know, people could still get a hold of you. But we did manage to get a hold of you know, Jeremy over there on the forums, and then she's like, oh, well, you need to get a hold of Sonia, and so we try to get a hold of Sonia, and then, you know, we just don't get any responses out of her, so it's like, who's coordinating this event? And I don't think they know who's coordinating this event. It's like, oh, we're going to have this event on such and such date, but we don't know who's going to coordinate it. and the person that is coordinated should be the person that, you know, is responding back to emails or in ICQ, not ICQs, because we don't have their ICQs, but emails and phone calls, you know, and neither one's being returned, so I'm disappointed nonetheless. And also they're talking about changing up the fan site status, you know, the fan site page and everything. I'm kind of skeptical until I see it, and I have to be for a reason, because I don't want to be too discouraged. But they are apparently going to be changing all of that up. And I'm kind of wondering what you guys think about the supposed changes that they got planned for the fan sites were, because I think before the show you guys had some comments about that. So, Arjuna, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of saw that as maybe EA actually listening to some people that had experience. Like, for example, there was a dialogue a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that we were kind of lucky that there were only 2 paid employees of Origin at the time of the MyUO boards, which are arguably the most universally thought of as successful official fan site. And even the person who was moderating at Silverone back then, even he was saying that the strength of Ultima is in the community, and that Ultima needs to listen to not only just an official forum, but to all the other fan sites. And there were other players who gave various reasons to that. And when a week or 2 later, Sonia came out and said, hey, we're going to start, you know, I apologize for what we've been doing at fan sites, and we're going to start trying to actually take you seriously and link you and all that kind of stuff, that I see that as them having said, hey, here's these people who were successful years ago, and it's true. And, you know, like, in some of the dialogue a couple of weeks ago, EA sounded like they just were afraid of criticism. They were afraid of people saying bad things and things snowballing. And then when it went from that point of view at the beginning of a couple of weeks ago to saying, hey, you know, all of you out there, you're our fans, and thank you very much. I kind of saw that as a shift from fear of criticism to, hey, whatever they are, it's a fan site. They are important to us, and I just kind of appreciated that.
Yeah, it's really interesting nonetheless, and I'm going to read out what they kind of spell over here on the fan site page, where all the links for all the fan sites were taken down and what was put up in its place was basically a message from Sonia, and I'm going to read that here in a little bit. But go ahead, Lord Chaos.
Well, I agree with what Arjuna said, and hopefully they will keep making things better and really realize that what the community is saying is important. The community is the backbone of UO. It's what has stuck with the game for a long, long time. It's what guides new players into the game. UO doesn't really have much else going for it. I mean, it's not like fancy graphics or anything like that pulls players in. It's the veterans. It's the community. That's the thing they need to really ride on. There's been a lot of talks about whether Stratex should be the official forum, and I still think it should. Its policies are a little bit too strict, like the 3 ban, you're out strike, the 3 strikes and your permaban rules and stuff like that. It could do away with, since just banning people for minor offenses from a forum that's so very important, that has such a tight community, that's not good. But it should stay there. Stratex should just kind of get with the newer times, because forums have changed. They shouldn't get their own official forum. I'm very much against that, simply because I've seen how other official forums becomes. Usually it just becomes either a drain of the company, they start putting it together with other games, so you lose your identity in them, or they start over-moderating it, or they don't have any experience with moderating at all. They hire people on that just act like they know anything about it, but really don't. Hopefully things will shape up for the better in 2007, and I actually think there are some forces at work that can and will make it better in 2007.
Yeah, and say that's a good point that you bring up, because as a matter of fact, if you guys haven't been keeping up with some of the major forums out there and stuff like that, there's been a resurgence in discussion with regards to whether or not EA should reintroduce their official forums or not, because apparently some people are kind of getting fed up with such forums such as Stratex and their heavy-handed policies. I mean, we talk about some of the people who are permabanned and stuff like that. I mean, they have a permaban policy, and I for one am permabanned, and that's pretty much the case. And I don't predict that changing. I've probably been banned probably about 6 or 7 months now, almost a year, yeah. And this is supposed to be the forums in which I'm supposed to be able to go to and give feedback to the developers, and I can't even give feedback to developers. So what options do I have left to give my feedback to the developers, in which I am a paying subscriber of the game? I can either email them, and I'm sure they don't want everybody emailing them. So I mean, exactly how do I get my feedback out there if I am permabanned, or anybody else for that matter? The only difference is I actually have the ability to still give my feedback through, such things as a talk show like this. But, if it wasn't for that, how would somebody without all that and everything, be able to go out and give their feedback as a paying subscriber of the game? They wouldn't. And so they're just, pretty much SOL. Let's hear from Arjuna. Go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, in fact, I had a conversation. Well, actually, if we go back in time to the MyUO forums, what was that, about 7 years ago or so, there were some people who were significant parts of the community, and there's one who I guess I won't name, but I thought.
Oh, go ahead. Name him.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right, I'll name him. I thought he was a good kid. He's Star Knight Goku, and I guess about when he first started, he was about 14, and he got beat up a lot by other posters. I mean, they didn't like his posting style, and maybe some moderators didn't like him either or something. But he was a good kid. He didn't take offense. He took a beating, but didn't give it back. You know what I mean? And he even made his own forums, and he fit in with a lot of the different posting communities, like the Slayer boards and the Jiggy boards. And so anyways, over the years, so you picture here someone who starts as a fan at about age 14, maybe 13. Fast forward another 7 or 8 years, and there are forums like Stratix that have banned him years ago for posting too much, for spamming, and so now this person who grew up basically with Ultima, who was part of the community, is permanently banned from the official forums for having posted too much several years ago, and is now, it has grown into it. Is almost a different person now. Now, this actually ties into the fan site changes, because, all right, nobody can tell Stratix that, hey, I don't like your fan site, I don't like your permanent ban policy, make it go away. If Stratix does that, well, you know what, that's how it's going to be. But if it really works out that all these other fan sites are going to start getting a voice, then all the people who have been permanently banned from it, such as you, Viceroy, such as Star Knight Goku, such as Farquhar, such as all the people who, for the smallest thing, maybe for calling someone a dummy when it was appropriate, all those people who are permanently banned, if it gives them a voice now somewhere else, and that voice actually then starts becoming part of the community again, I'm all in favor for it, and I think this will be a good thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you're going to have, or you're going to give the official forum status, to a third party in this case, which is Stratix, then I would suggest that if they're going to intend to keep that status or whatever, or intend to leave things the way they are, then they should advise the third party that, hey, you're going to have to lighten up, a little bit. You're going to have to change your policies when it comes to banning, subscribers, of our game or whatever, because we do want their feedback. We do want to hear from all of our subscribers, and it's counterproductive to the company in which is managing an MMO and not being able to get their feedback from players who are otherwise banned because of, like, for example, one of your friends spamming too much or something of that nature. I think I was banned for spamming the 9th anniversary edition or whatever. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of crazy, stupid policies, in my opinion. For one, I'm one of the kind of people that firmly believe that a person should not be banned forever, and it kind of carries over into real life to some degree. That if somebody does something wrong, they should be should throw them in jail and throw away the key. I mean, these are people, and these are subscribers in this case. I've always been a firm believer of that. Always give people opportunities, and I truly believe it's just kind of like the dog that, snaps at you, slap him in the mouth a few times, I guarantee you, he'll learn not to snap at you or whatever. But, that's, you just have to teach a dog, and after a few times, the dog's finally going to get it in his head that, hey, and I believe the same thing can, in essence, work with humans, so to speak. In this case, a slap on the hands. Hey, stop that, quit spamming, and then maybe ban them, suspend them for a week, and then let them come back. And if they can't do it again, well, a week is again. And then if they can't learn from it, or another week. And then if they can't learn from it, then another week until they do get it through their head that, hey, you can't be doing this. And it should be a permanent thing. That's the difference in my philosophy in Stratix. Go ahead, Lord Chaos.
Well, Well, definitely, there should always be, permabans. But permaban should really be for the high-end crime. This is even kind of like a parallel to real life. That should be for malicious crimes. Things where there's no doubt about intent. If I'm writing to Arjuna and saying, I will find you, I know where you live, and I will come and I'll cut you up and I'll cut up your family. If I said something like that, yes, I should be permabanned and throw away the key. Never ever see you again, and permaban IP and so on and so forth, and call the cops and so on. But, just because you rant and spiels and rants or do something other silly like that, you shouldn't get banned. And it certainly shouldn't add up to getting permabanned. What they should do is that they should have sometimes longer cooldown periods, saying, well, if you really kind of do something repeatedly, then maybe you do get a long sentence. You may get 3 months or 6 months, some long period of time where you really need to cool down and kind of reflect on what the heck you're doing. Because you may just really, really, really be going at it wrong. You may run around attacking people, saying things wrong all the time, and things like that. But permaban has such a broad ramification for people, and I'm not even just talking about fan sites. That's bad enough. For many people, that's the end of their game period. That's the end of their community. There's nothing more. And there's nothing more bitter than to be thrown out just because of some little stupid mess up that you did. And you might have done, well, you didn't even realize it. I mean, it's an international forum. It's like it has people from all around the world and moderators from all around the world. And you can't tell me that moderators are psychic superheroes. They aren't. They're people. They do a great job. They try to do the job the best they can, but they're people. And people make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. Moderators do too. And so it's really, really bad to take a bunch of people that have to make decisions every day that do make mistakes and giving them the power, or just giving them giving them the power to eventually ban people permanently for minor things that could just be mistakes or misunderstandings, or people thinking, well, this guy sounds really aggressive, or, well, he's actually quite mellow, or so on and so on. They're just misunderstanding how he's writing it, or he's just writing it wrong. Now, all of this said, Stratix is still a great forum. There are other forums out there that are much, much worse, and that includes official forums. Now, before we start taking up my UO like it's some sort of magic haven, do remember that could end your game permanently, because you would get permabanned from both places, and sometimes people did get banned from there too. So it's not like a new MyUO will be a magic solution. And do remember that, I remember a place on the official forum on Lineage 2 where they actually banned one of the biggest contributor to one of the biggest artists that contributed to the game. They banned him, and he was like a huge fan of the game. I mean, he had a daughter that he had named after a server of the game. Even it was a good name too, but still, and it was like a huge fan. And they permabanned him. I was like, Jesus Christ! There was just like, what the hell are you guys doing? And for a very silly little thing too. So it's not like other places are just magic havens that just works magically, and just Stratix that just sucks all around. There's a lot of places that just sucks, and the best thing to do is hopefully that over time Stratix will mellow up a little bit and update its policies a bit, and just reflect a bit on what's going on, and reflect a bit on the community, and I think it'll all work out pretty beautifully. Now I've read it long enough. It's your turn, Arjuna.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first, I agree that there are instances where people should be permabanned, and it's for when they're intentionally really horribly malicious. But that said, all people grow up. And not only that, when you go from a purely real-life world and you first start going into online games, and then you first start going into forums, and then you meet these people that you're typing against, in the beginning, you get really mad. when I was a beginning poster, I used to get really mad. I would argue so emotionally, and then as it was me, I when I started learning the perspectives, then I learned to start calming down. And these people, like when I first met Freja, for example, we fought really hard, but she kept calm, and I would get really mad, and she would get calm, and then I became her friend, because then I realized, hey, even if I sometimes disagree, she's really cool. And then there was like another forum. It was UO Power Gamers many years ago, and there was this guy, and he would make me so mad that I actually agreed to meet him halfway between us in the United States so that we can meet and fight, because I was really mad at that guy. He was just like, and so we're talking years ago. We're talking over 7 years ago. And guess what happens? Now I can post and I see other people getting mad, and I can detach myself. Well, that's the same thing with regard to a permaban policy. When you have to chastise someone for getting too emotional or something, I know one of the things that I do is I look to see how many posts they have. Because if they have 5 posts or 7 posts or even 150 posts, it might just be they didn't get it yet. And one of the things that you get is how to calm down, how to argue against people. And even 30,000 posts into my Ultima Online forums career, I still get mad sometimes. But the thing is that doesn't mean that there isn't something constructive that you can get out of someone once they're no longer angry.
Right. I have to agree with you. And you know what? If that should ever happen in real life where you guys actually meet up, like I definitely so want to be there, so I can like film that and put it up on YouTube and then put like in the caption that 2 nerds going at it over Ultima Online. Oh, I'm sorry. I just had to say that. Yeah, that would actually, that would be like one of those bum fights or whatever. Instead, it'd be 2 people, slamming their keyboard down on the desk and snapping it in half. They say, "I'm going to go out and kick that person's butt," and then meet out in real life, and yeah, that would be awesome. But yeah, I can just see how many people would go out and download something like that. You stole my 120 luck necklace or whatever. Oh, too funny. 200 or whatever. I can't remember, but yeah. I kind of lost my little focus here, but let me go ahead and quickly read what Sonia wrote over here on the website, on the UO.com website for the fan site links, and that way I can get that out of the way, because I did say I would read that, and I'm going to do that now. All right, let me go ahead and pull it up. It says, okay, this is what it says. It says, Hell and Well Met. The website's run by and for the Ultima Online community of life's blood of the lands of Britannia. Without you, there would be only the game. With you, there is a rich world filled with characters, intrigue, friendships, intriguing, I guess that's intrigue, fellowship, and fun. And we could never thank you enough for all that you've done, if we had 1,000 years. Okay. And then she goes on to say, but you wouldn't know that from our fansite page. It has been sadly out of date, and worse, it promised that which we cannot give. There's also the problem that always comes with the list, and the people are rewarded for completing a process instead of evolving. I cannot apologize enough for the state of affairs. A clean break is called for, and with that clean break, we want to do something very different. First of all, we want our websites to think of themselves as members of the media, because that is exactly what they are. The community team will respond to your requests as best as we can, and we will let you know right away. Yeah, when we cannot give you what you're asking for. Typical requests would be the beta access, interviews, and Q&A features. Okay. But don't stop there. Let your imagination run free. Always ask, and we'll always do our best. Second, we will be more active about promoting all of the websites dedicated to our shared passion of Ultima Online. We will link to you through the 5 on Friday and the website whenever you do something newsworthy, no matter the size of your web page. Get a feature, a story, a tool, or anything else you want to share? Send it to us. We want to tell the world about your contribution to Ultima, and we'll feature the best submissions every week in front of everyone, not to be buried as a link on a dusty and distant webpage. Please email your community team with any questions, especially Jeremy Dahlberg, who is your own personal developer. Done that, and nothing's happened. All right, and then it goes on to say, we've hoped this clean break results in the good things for you. For those of you who have kept the faith for all these years, and again, I apologize to you for the way things have been. I hope the future holds good things for us all. Sonia M. Thomas, Director of Community Relations. And I don't know how to interpret that, but they have kind of dropped the ball on that, if that's what they want us to do. But go ahead, Arjuna. Now let's. Hold on. Go ahead, Lord Chaos. I meant for you to go ahead. Go.
Yeah, you. Jumped over me. No, that's okay. But anyway, yeah, it seems like they kind of dropped the ball on that. But I don't know how they did with other fan sites. That's, of course, the biggest thing, whether they've dropped the ball with more fan sites than just yours. Not to say that that's anything less at all, but what I mean is that, if they've dropped the ball on 10 fan sites, something is very seriously wrong. Now, if they just drop the ball on one fan site, something is just going wrong somewhere down the line. Something is spinning because of all the new things happening. A lot of times you'll see people write wishful thinking that how they want things to be, but it's not always it turns out to be that way, or that it turns out to be that way from the beginning. And hopefully you guys can keep trying to contact EA and can get through to them somehow. Otherwise, like I said, it's really nice thinking. It's a really nice write-up, and they are right in that fan sites are like the media. You are what represents what comes out, and even more so, unlike the media, you also represent your community. I mean, the media don't often represent their viewers or readers very often, but fan sites do. They really do give a much better two-way communication, and that needs to be exploited much better by them, hopefully. But we'll see what happens.
Totally agree. And Arjuna, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, first, Lord Chaos is correct that Sanya's words are very encouraging, and like I said before, it's something that I hope empowers not only other forums but other players. But Viceroy, you brought up something that you and I have talked about many times, and this is, I think, a subject that is important to you and to me, but that we extremely disagree in. You think that there's such thing as Felucca versus Trammel, and I say that there's no such thing as Felucca and Trammel, and that everybody is playing a video game, and that it is no tougher being in Felucca than it is playing Pong. And so, like, when you called me a nerd for being willing to fight in real life sometimes, then you're exactly making my point that there is nothing tough about fighting in a video game. It's just a video game. And, there is no degree of nerdiness if you are killing someone with a spell in a game, or you are killing someone with a sword, or you are jumping out of shadows. You are playing a video game.
Oh, come on, you're a tech mage. Yeah, I was just giving you a hard time. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and, let's see, we're going to talk about some of the PvP changes after UOKR, which are being planned and everything. What kind of changes do you guys hopefully want to see with PvP, which they never quite did with factions and stuff like that? I want to hear about that. Let's start off with Lord Chaos. Go ahead.
Well, I hope they've been busy kind of learning a bit from other games, because there are other games like Lineage 2 and yes, even World of Warcraft that has expanded and evolved PvP quite a lot from what UO used to be. And UO has a lot of potential with its systems. I hope that PvP returns to a more simplistic system, that so we can make up for, instead of having the level-based system, that we have a more simplistic item system to use in PvP, and then expand things like reintroducing factions in a way, and maybe introducing some more like siegeable areas, where you can take over. You used to be able to do that in a way with, well, you still can, of course, a faction just broken in hell, but take over regions and maybe even expand the PvP faction to include other areas as well. Territory control is great as long as it's not too intrusive. Lineage 2 has shown that. It has a very, very lush and wide PvP system that really, once you get into it, allows you to do a lot. It really allows you to control a lot. It allows you to control areas and exert control and, garner taxes, gain benefits, and many kind of things like that. It gives you control of things called like the mana system, which allows you to the mana lord or the lord of the castle to introduce things to the general population, which helps them and helps him. And that way you get, if it's someone who's active, it'll give everybody benefits. But if someone who's not active, the community will feel it, and so the community will feel like, well, we want to really replace this guy or support somebody who will replace him because our benefits are not this great anymore because he's lazy or not doing anything. Just like in real life, if you had a ruler that was lazy and not doing anything, you'd want to replace him. Lead people with sugar canes, not with the canes that you're spanking them over their backs with. They need to feel like, well, we're doing this for something, that we're gaining something with it. That's great. It's just like how power scrolls work. It's just a too limited scope, so you get a lot of bottlenecking in that system. But it kind of works like that. People have additional benefits that they are willing to fight for and go to look for. And I really hope that UOKR will incorporate a lot of those things into the game and make PvP more than just sitting there and fighting, ganking each other at U-Gate or whatever. I'm sorry, I don't PvP too much. While chance spawns are great, it's just too limited. Too limited a scope, too little. UO has such an opportunity to do so much more. And heck, like I said, it could even expand into that you could even PvP, limited PvP, as long as you were signed up. Just like you sign up in Lineage 2, you sign up for castles, clans, and individuals, but mostly clans. Clans can sign up for castles and so on. They sign up to defend or attack, and then you could have it so in Malice and Ilshanar and Takunu that you could actually sign up for PvP there as well, and you would gain some limited control there as well. Control like Luna and Malice. Whatever the towns are called, can't remember. Gains of sort of the Gargoyle City and so on and so forth. See, that would be really cool, and it would have a very limited effect for those people just playing there. And then, but it would be enough for them to say, well, maybe I do want to participate in this because I might get something more out of this, and then people would want to play in it. But it wouldn't affect them otherwise, really. And I think that would be great. And it could be introduced into the story that because of this whole UOKR thing and the BlackRock and so on, Lord British forces have started to lose control, and the nobles, and even because this trial, which was a botch up, many people say, that the nobles are starting to lose control, and, player nobles are starting to get more control over the area. You would even make it so that in a limited fashion, you would, the mirror towns of, let's say, Trinsic and Britain would actually, if you won Britain, the control of the Britain area, you would have a small limited control even over Britain in travel. Not so much that you would affect anybody negatively while they're there, but you could actually positively influence the town which you have. And in turn, you would also be claimed as some sort of noble of Britain, a noble leader of Trinsic, for instance. And you could then say, well, I want to give some benefits to Cham because that gives some benefits back to me. And it would give some benefits in Feluca and so on. I would also hope that they would introduce a system of PvP or some, or like, let's call it epic PvP really, because it's more than just player versus player. It's like it's sides versus sides. Some really big PvP. I hope they would reintroduce the old skills like stealing, stealth, hiding, item identification, crafting, player crafting. So all of these things could be reintroduced in new forms. Well, actually in more like less their old forms, by saying, for instance, well, if you hold a town, your faction crafters gets benefits from crafting there, and you can craft very, very powerful, very strong items that works when you're sieging. They work in PvP, very PvP-centric items, and you can craft those, and then you can have your thieves that go over from the opposing van that goes over and start stealing from the blacksmith trying to do that. You have to defend them because they're making your weapons and armor for the next siege, and the possibilities are endless. You could make this game a lot more vibrant, a lot more alive than just people standing around Britain Bank and shouting, selling such and such stuff, really. You know, there's so much more. And I hope that UOKR will bring this in. And I'm sorry for this long rant. I'll stop now.
Yeah, that was quite a long rant. But I don't blame you. It's obviously something you're very passionate about, and quite frankly, I think we ought to move away from this factional warfare or whatever, because I don't subscribe to the ideal of factions. I more subscribe to the ideal of guilds having control or alliances having control of various different things. So that way, it's more of a challenge. If you get a faction you could have like 20 freaking guilds, controlling a city. But if you, do a guild or whatever, then it's a lot harder to maintain control of something. So that way, it's more challenging and can create more political warfare. Lord Chaos, did you quickly want to add something to that?
Yes, real quick, thank you. That's what I meant. I didn't per se mean that factions should come back. I'm perfectly happy with. I think alliances. I'm almost calling them clans because I play Lineage 2 as well. And guilds should have expanded powers and such, and be able to enter into these things. And it should be based on that, not factions per se. I just call it a faction just to. For ease of use, and that's what I hope they can, because that will really bring some purpose to guilds and to alliances between guilds into the game again, beyond just so we can go and beat Peerless or Champion Spawns.
Yeah, very good point, and I definitely look forward to that. Hopefully they'll think you over really well and think about all the different various scenarios before they implement any changes. Arjuna, let's hear from you. I know you've been waiting a while.
Thanks. On the mechanics of it, I agree with definitely most of what Lord Chaos says. I would love to see scenarios where, the blacksmiths or the tinkers or the tailors of a faction or group that has earned a territory can make things better or different than a normal tailor or smith or whatever, and where more than just warriors can participate, where thieves and everybody get benefit. On the mechanics, I totally agree with that. But if there was going to be something where you write a wish list of what you would like to change in PvP, my wish list would actually be to have more benefit and less penalties. I think the penalties are problematic for the losers, because in Ultima Online, the winners get stuff, but the losers sometimes lose enough to knock them out of the game. For example, I can name quite a few people and quite a few events where I would either witness or get an ICQ from someone who was killed so many times that they lost all their insurance and then they were dry looted, and millions of gold pieces worth of gear that they had built up, they have to start all over again, and it's really demoralizing. And why? Why do they have to lose so much? Because they lost the fight. And I don't think that kind of loss belongs in a game that you're supposed to be playing for a long time, because it's already a game where the most powerful PvPers and the starting PvPers have a massive gap. And when you get one of those really powerful people that can kill someone in 3 seconds, and then can kill them over and over and over again in 3 seconds until the person who has 50 million gold pieces kills someone who had 50,000 gold pieces and now no longer has 50,000 gold pieces and now no longer has any gear. A friend of mine who is a PK, a player killer I should say, that I've known for many years, he happens to be one of the kinds of player killers that most people probably don't like. To me, he's honorable, but he's opportunistic. He will kill you if he gets a chance. And a week or two ago, for example, he got himself a really good suit. Head-to-toe artifacts worth 70 or 80 million gold. And it turns out the way he got it was he saw some guy in Felucca riding a blue beetle, and he killed him, and he looted him, and the guy had a beetle loaded down with tokens, 9th anniversary tokens, soulstone tokens. Like, he had 70 or 90 million gold worth of gear in his beetle. Now, probably most people who hear that will say, well, that was really foolish to have blessed items inside a beetle. Yes, it was foolish. But at the same time, that is such a devastating loss that for having lost a PvP fight, a guy has now lost everything that he's got in the world. Now that's an extreme example, but there are many of them. Sometimes everything they own in the world is 50,000. Sometimes everything they own in the world is 2 million. Sometimes it's 50 million. In Ultima Online, you can lose everything you've got in PvP, and that doesn't belong in the game. Getting benefits, getting better crafting, getting better suits, getting better anything, yes. Getting silver, getting whatever you want, yes, put that in PvP. But taking away everything from a player, no, that needs to go.
I say everything. They ought to lose everything. That's the spoils of war. If you can win, take everything, I say. I'm so ruthless. But yeah, I love being a tyrant. But let's see. I definitely. And here's the bottom line. Whenever it comes to PvP, the only way that's even going to work, no matter what they do to revamp or whatever, they're going to have to standardize the loot. For example, the weapons and the armor and everything else. And what do I mean by that? For example, you take two iron katanas. You look at one iron katana, it's different from the other iron katana. They're going to have to make it uniformal. So that way it's simplistic, in which Lord Chaos was referring to. They're going to have to make it simplistic, so that way people understand, can learn, and we really need to move away from having like eight or nine properties on any given item or whatever. It should be pretty much just one property, if anything, on a given item. So that way it creates a unique item, rarity, and items that you can use for various different things. I mean, it shouldn't be like, this one sword is, jack of all trades or whatever. It shouldn't be like that. And for me, it's very confusing. And the fact that it's not standardized or uniformed or anything like that, it just makes PvP a nightmare. And then it comes to a whole balancing issue and all the other crap. It shouldn't be anything like that. Personally, that's why I like the old days, with the old item properties when we didn't have any item properties, because of the fact that you knew what it was, you knew the quality, and you knew that if you had a GM weapon, it was better than a regular weapon, And you knew if you had a vanquishing weapon, it's better than a GM weapon. I mean, there was no question to it. It wasn't like, oh, well, do I need this weapon or whatever else. It just didn't create all that confusion in terms of picking out a weapon and going out and going into a battle. You didn't have to think about all those different variables or scenarios or whatever else. And that's what's stupid about the game nowadays, you know, and that's why I really don't care for PvP, and I won't care for PvP until they make it really simplistic to the point that I can say, oh, okay, well, I'll just throw that on, and if I see someone with a katana, I know what they got, you know, and that's how it should be. And that way, you know, I don't have to find out the hard way and lose all my stuff and say, oh, okay, I understand why he beat me now. It's because he had that stupid, you know, fire, you know, resist or whatever on his armor or whatever. It shouldn't be anything like that. But go ahead, Lord Chaos, and then I'm going to read what Dark Scribe wrote.
Thank you. Well, first of all, the tyrant quote, being a tyrant is only fun for the one guy that becomes a tyrant. It's not fun for anybody else. And, you know, I'm not too sure you would necessarily become the tyrant. There's probably somebody better at it out there, no offense. And so, really, it wouldn't be fun after all. I mean, in some sense, it's much, much better. And modern-day societies has shown that, you know, mostly everybody can be winners. You know, it doesn't just have to be one guy being a winner. Most people can be, and it really comes down to the point you need to feel like you are accomplishing something yourself. You need to feel like you're part of something yourself, and you're doing something yourself. It needs to be something you can measure, something you can do, instead of it just being, well, we all wish we were that tyrant, but you know, only one guy is ever going to be like him, so everybody's really going to be, damn it, we all sit here and suck while he has everything. That's not good, and that's not good for the game, really. As for item properties, yes, they should be simplified. Not down to that point which you're going at. I don't think so. It's still good because UO doesn't have levels, so they need, and they don't have all the item sets that other games have. So they still need to have the item properties, but not so many of them, and it needs to be easier to really just add up and put together. They need to have some sort of interface that shows that. And on top of that, what they need to do, and I really am a strong supporter of this, I know Mr. Tag and all the others don't like this, but they need to separate PVM from PvP. That's the only way they can truly ever save that system. They need to make it so that when you are fighting a player, then all the super duper mega artifact suits you have are good, but they're not super. They're not the end all everything. What you need to do is that you need to make it so that if you're PvPing, then what you're getting out of Felucca is what is going to be beneficial for you. That could be the faction crafters again. That could be the crafters over there that takes a chance and want to be part of that, and you know, do work in a smithy, and they can craft specific armors that are PvP specific, that are very simplistic, but they're very powerful in PvP. That way, everybody is more or less can be equal, and comes down to tactics. It comes down to, well, you cannot make super suits, but you can make suits that are strong in some areas. You can make very defensive suits. You can make suits that are strong against armor. You can make weapons that are, you know, very, very fast and strong, but may not necessarily work against everything, you know, and you get certain counter attack. That gives people who make military tactics or do tactics and guilds and so on, that gives them something to do. That really gives people and a crafter something to do as well. They can sit there and say, well, you need so and so many or in such and such armor and such armor, and then you do such and such. That's the tactics of beating these guys, because that's how they're playing. And that will make it really, really fun, instead of this all being about, well, I have vampiric form and I do such and such and I have the new super template, and that's the way we just make 100 of those and we win the fight, you know, something silly like that. That's not how things should be, really. So in the end, I hope that's something they'll introduce, and I'll stop ranting again.
Yeah, and if you don't know by now, I played Tears for Fear. Everybody wants to rule the world. All right, so we're going to go ahead and read Aaron Cohan's post over here over on the 5 on Friday, and it's with regards to PvP. So we're going to go ahead and take a little break, and that's something we normally don't do here on the talk show. And then whenever the song ends, we will come back and read what Aaron Cohan has for you guys. All right, be back in a minute. All right, we're back on air and everything. We're back. And that was Tears for Fear. Everybody wants to rule the world. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And now we're going to read what Dark Scribe had posted over there on the 5 on Friday, or should we say what he said about PvP. The question is, what's next with PvP? And this is from Aaron Cohan, a.k.a. Dark Scribe. And it says, what's truly next in PvP is a project that is being planned for after the launch of UOKR. So it means after UOKR is launched, that is something they're going to be working on. And then it goes on to say, as with all future plans, we aren't going to talk about the details right now because we will change dozens of times before you even get to play it. The core idea is to give a much more compelling reason to PvP, which is what Faction was supposed to do but never quite got there. That's all for now. So, let's see. Any comments about that? Or are we actually pretty much done with that? Are we going to go move on to our next topic here? All right, I guess we're going to move on to our next topic here. And so what we're going to do, we're going to be talking about the Dupe Bug Finder program, which was mentioned in the 5 on Friday for January 12th. And let me pull that up real quick. And this is what it says. This is the question. I found a dupe. Should I use it and hope I don't get caught or report it? And this is what they responded by saying, we are cheerfully stealing a program from Dark Ages of Camelot that will hopefully encourage people to help us keep the game clean. The first person to report an exploit or a dupe without first exploiting it receives a prize. The prize may range from anywhere from a keychain to a lifetime free account and invitations to all future UO betas. The reward depends on the severity of the problem, but I will demonstrate our gratitude in some way if you're indeed the first to report the problem, and you've done so in honest and good faith. Note, the good faith is it's a bit important. You can't find a dupe, make millions on eBay from it, and then tell us about it and get a reward. It's one or the other. So should you find something with the potential to be seriously harmful to the game, please send it to report to uobugs@uo.com with all the information in an email to edahlberg@ea.com with the header dupe in the subject line. Okay, and then it goes on to say the DAOC team, which is Dark Ages of Camelot team, is satisfied enough with the program to share it with us, and I'm eager to tap a heretofore unexplored well of knowledge from our player base. Smiley face. All right, so that's what do you guys think about that little program? Do you think it'd be promising? Do you think people would actually report some of these exploits and say, hey, I found one. I want a lifetime, subscription. Go ahead, Arjuna.
Well, I'm probably more cynical than most people on it. Most adults that play have more than one account, and so if they're, paying 4 accounts or 10 accounts a month, and someone says, hey, you were a great player, here, let me pay you for life one of them, well, okay, that's $10 off of what they're giving, which could be $100 a month. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. On the flip side, it's a nice PR move, and it's also potentially good for the kids, because there's a lot of people who are 13, 15, whatever years old who play Ultima Online, and they're at the mercy of some uncle or dad trying to say, yeah, you can keep using my credit card for this game that you should be studying, like that. And so if there's some 13-year-old kid who spots something and says something and gets to play, well, great. They've got a guaranteed player for 7 years or whatever. And the beta thing, they don't have to make an announcement like that. Like, I imagine that if someone had made a report 2 years ago, doesn't that mean that the team could have said, hey, 2 years ago you found something, want to be on our beta team? I don't really get why it has to be an official announcement when really it's just PR. So, okay, I'm cynical. What can I say?
Yeah. The only thing I'm kind of wondering is what good does it do to send, Jeremy anything if you can't even get a response out of her. I'm sorry to have to be a little, touchy with that, but, it's the truth so far. Until I see otherwise, I'm not going to rest on my case about that. You're going to have to demonstrate a lot better, Jeremy, if you want to gain my respect. That's all I can say. Lord Chaos, go ahead.
Well, I like the program. I'm not as cynical as Arjuna is, and I think it might actually work for some people. Sadly, in many cases it won't, but with a few it might, and considering the scope of dupes and cheats, I think it's a small price to pay to give them something like that. Maybe it works. Camelot, or they wouldn't be wasting their time putting it over here. So if it's nothing lost, nothing gained, or nothing. Well, nothing gained, nothing lost. Sorry, I mixed it up. Because if nobody reports anything, well, we're equally worse off as we were before, really. So it's, even if it just prevents one dupe from getting out, or that they get it reported before time, then it's worth it, in my opinion. So I think that's good.
Personally, if I was a duper or whatever else, I would, I was going to give up the dupe or whatever and actually report it. I better get something more than a keychain. If I got a keychain, I would be so insulted. My intelligence would be insulted. It'd be like, you're going to send me a stupid keychain. I would be insulted to receive a keychain. I would want a lifetime subscription. You'd be like, okay. Well, and then I would actually feel compelled, to, be more generous with that kind of stuff if I should ever come across it or whatever, But if you're going to kind of screw me over and give me a stupid keychain, I'm going to be like, sorry, but no thanks, and you can take that, and put it where, yeah, I would be insulted. But yeah, Lord Chaos, go ahead.
Well, they're not totally stupid. They would of course know that, and I think they're just mentioning those because there are different levels of cheats, really. There are different levels of dupes. If it's just something that allows you to dupe cookies, in cookie game,
cookies.
then of course it wouldn't be worth a lifetime subscription. That would be reserved for the big time cheats. If somebody showed them how to dupe across shards and get artifact dupes and stuff like that, then yeah, sure, hey, give them 1 account or 5 accounts for free or something like that, if it's something really, really big. But if something small, like, hey, how to cheat how to exploit a quest for white spider silk or something, let's say that was an exploit, and then there may be a keychain or something small like that. I think it's just like the exploits are scaled, so are the rewards scaled. I mean, that makes the most sense. So actually, it's a pretty sensible thing they're doing.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. What's to stop them from saying, well, you know what? Someone's already reported that, so you're just SOL. Yep, sorry. Better luck next time. I mean, what's to stop them from saying that? I mean, and then they don't have to give nobody anything because it's like, okay, well, sorry, someone's already reported it, but thank you for reporting it. Yeah, Lord Chaos, go ahead.
Yeah, well, in that case, we can't really know. We can never know. And the same thing goes for just about anything else they're doing. They could ban you just because Wookiee think you look funny. Well, really, truly, we can never truly know. The only thing we can know is that they're human beings, and they do have some sort of review, and they do have people get mad at each other. So if they did things like that, eventually people would find out. Eventually people say, well, this may not be a good idea, this is not a good thing to do, so they would either correct it or fire the people who does it or whatnot. So I don't think they would do that, do it like that. Of course it would suck to be the one who truly was number 2 that reported it, or if 10 people reported it, that would suck. But I don't think they would purposely cheat with it. I mean, that would defeat the whole system, and if that ever got out, it would pretty much bomb the system for both Dark Age of Camelot and Ultimate Online and any other game that EA does, like Warhammer Online. So I don't think they would do that. I really don't. Too much risk, too little gain. I mean, okay, so they save 1 or 2 accounts, whoop-de-doodle-doo. That's pennies for them. That's nothing compared to...
Well, you mentioned, and we did talk about the possibility of them giving out lifetime accounts or whatever. You would think, I mean, let me talk about something here for a minute. If they're giving out lifetime accounts for dupes, it makes me kind of wonder, shouldn't they be giving out lifetime accounts to media companies if we're supposedly the media now? So that way we can talk about their game and say how great it is and how appreciative we are for a lifetime account, so we can write about their impressive game and all that good stuff. I mean, wouldn't that be good public relations? I mean, if they're going to do it for dupes, why not do it for the media? Arjuna, let's hear from you.
Thanks, Viceroy. You had said, well, what if they just say, thanks, we already knew about it. I'll tell you something. If they said, thanks, we already knew about that, that would be a big leap ahead of what they're doing right now. I can't remember how many bugs I've reported, and I have never gotten a response on a bug. I never... you say, hey, there's this problem where so-and-so happens and this is terrible, or if you do this and this, like that, I could think of at least half a dozen times, and they don't answer. If I think about it, maybe there was one around maybe the Tajima era where I got a response from somebody who wanted to try to work it out. And I guess one of Ando's team also try to talk to me, but in general, when it's a bug and you submit it, they don't answer. And that's something that is more lacking than giving a free account or something. You know, they would have better PR to respond to every single bug report and say, thank you very much, we already knew about it, or no, I don't think it's a bug. They would get better results from just answering than from giving a keychain to 1 out of every 100.
Right, and that's a good point. And I mean, let's just say you was to submit a bug and everything, and they were to acknowledge it. That would give you some good satisfaction that, hey, yeah, they acknowledge it. They're going to do something about it, hopefully, and that they're aware of it, and that you don't believe that it just went into this black abyss and where nobody's even reading it or anything of that nature. Also, by them responding to you, they could also get any follow-up information or additional information they might need to get from you in order to make their finding of the bug a lot quicker. I mean, because, I mean, let's be quite frank. I mean, the first initial bug report, you're not going to get all the details. I mean, it's just not possible. So, I mean, how are they supposed to be able to rectify a problem if they don't even contact you to get any additional information from you? I think that's something they could definitely improve on when it comes to bug reports and stuff like that. Lord Chaos, let's hear from you.
Well, first of all, I want to say to Juna that it's not very often you'll get bugs to respond. I mean, they just crawl around and stuff like that. They usually don't respond to you and stuff. But otherwise, you bring up a good point. It would be a leap forward in customer relations for them to somehow respond, at least to the bug reports. I mean, other games do at least try and do that. Yeah, sometimes it turns into generic crap, but otherwise, you know, I think UO could do so much better, and EA could do so much better, and hopefully, I hope that World of Warcraft would have shown them by now that image is everything. Image is very, very, very damn important. It's how players perceive the game. It's how players from the outside see the game. It's how outside players see the community. It's how they see, you know, and in the end also the numbers, of course, but since UO doesn't have the numbers, it's all the other things it falls back on. So hopefully, and that's what I hope, and I am happy that World of Warcraft out, because it really shows that if you do a good job, if you have the image, if you have it like Blizzard did, if you do that, you do it right, you can get a kick-ass game that really, really, really gets subscribers. And WoW just broke like 8 million players, so
right,
it makes all others look like...
Yeah, and that's a good point that you bring up there and everything. I have to totally agree. If you're going to make a great impression on any new players, which is what they want to really appeal to and everything, they want to drag it, bring in new players. And I'm going to have to change that real quick. But yeah, they want to bring in new players and everything, but what are they going to do to really make a good impression? I mean, if the GM support is real sucky, then how's that going to make a good impression on them? If they can't really figure out how to play the game in the first 40 hours or whatever, how's that going to make a good impression? You know, if they can't get all the answers to their, you know, about the game or whatever questions they might have, I mean, they really need to look at it from all different points of views and stuff like that in order to really make an effective product that really leaves a great impression on the players to want to continue to play and everything. Because, you know, if the support sucks or whatever, or they get generic responses or whatever, I guarantee you, they're going to be like, well, screw this game. I know of a game out there that's a lot better, that treats me a lot better, gives me a lot more attention, and, you know, and that would be World of Warcraft or something like that. So, at the end of the day, you get what you pay for, and, you know, if EA is going to invest very little money in giving good quality support and stuff like that, and stuff like that, well, then they better, you know, expect very little in return, you know, in terms of active players sticking around and actually playing the game. You get what you pay for, EA. Just remember that. So if you cut corners on the budget, well, guess what? You're going to get what you pay for. I mean, that ain't rocket science. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and start getting close, start wrapping up the show and everything. We're going to be ending the show a little bit earlier, but I do want to let you guys know about a new program which we're going to be doing with our talk shows from here on out. If you, let's say, for example, you downloaded this audio file and you like, well, hey, you know, that's an interesting topic. I want to get my input about it. I have opinions of my own. I disagree with you or whatever else. You call us up on our phone number and actually leave a message with regards to the talk show of your choice or whatever. So, for example, this is episode 49, and you can just call up this number and actually leave a little voicemail, and we just may play you on air come next week during talk show number 50. So if you would like to give your feedback on this, definitely give us a call over here. It's a USA phone number, so if you're outside the United States, then it might cost you a little bit more. And there's toll charges does apply on this, so keep that in mind as well if you're in the United States. But if you're like me and you have unlimited, phone calls anywhere in the United States and Canada, then you're probably more than glad to be able to call up this number and everything else. Just whenever you call, just be aware that it will say on the answering machine MMOG Media, because that's the company name. But our phone number is 1, which is the international number, 817. So let me start over. 1-817-776-5339. Okay, I'm going to give you that number again. It's 1-817-776-5339. And you can leave your opinions or whatever else that you want to talk about with regards to this show or any of the past shows, and we just may talk about it or play on air. All right. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for this week and basically give our guests here today a chance to say goodbye and add any other words they might want to real quickly. And we, of course, have Arjuna from Lake Superior. So go ahead and say goodbye to everybody out there.
As always, thank you very much, Viceroy. It was a great pleasure, and also talking to Lord Chaos, too. It's kind of a really neat mechanism that you've got here for, picking topics and saying, even when we disagree, it's nice to hear the different overlapping perspectives, and it'll be interesting also next time to see what some of the overlapping perspectives of listeners might be. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I would definitely like to hear from the folks out there who listen to this talk show on a regular basis. Just call up, tell us what you want to hear, talked about on the radio. Hell, I'd be willing to do that. If you want to hear something talked about on the radio that you think that really needs to be covered, that isn't being covered already, definitely let us know what you want to hear. We're open to anything just about. Let's see, Lord Chaos from Europa, go ahead and say goodbye to everybody.
Well, goodbye everybody, and it was fun to once again participate in this talk show. Sounds like a great idea you have there, Viceroy, with people calling in, and I look forward to, if anybody is even listening, I look forward to hearing people's questions, opinions, and so on and so forth too. So call on in and let us know you're out there. Let us know that it's not just two people and their old dog listening. Thank you.
Yeah, two people and their old dog listening that's howling in the background to the sound of my voice. Yeah. All right. Arjuna, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think that I've been getting ICQ responses on some of the topics and things that come up throughout the show today. So, there's people out there with opinions. All they need to do is actually leave one on that phone call.
Yeah, definitely, and I would definitely love to see people call in on that. It would actually give me some idea as to what you guys want to hear and stuff like that. So with that said, I am, of course, DJ Viceroy right here at MMOG Media, and I am going to go ahead and sign off. I play on Chesapeake on Ultima Online. And before I close up, I just want to say it was I want to send a little special shout-out to someone who I met this week on Wednesday. And that would be Marquis Dragon from MarquisDragon.com. So it was great meeting you in person. And same thing to Ramirez and Steve from MarqueeDragon.com as well. And and shout out to Bruce over there on MarqueeDragon.com, who's let's see, Marquee Dragon's father. Just trying to remember all the people now. Didn't want to forget anybody out there, but all right. So this once again is episode number 49 right here on Saturday, January 13th, 2007. Once again, thank you for tuning in.